Hey everyone, it's Brandon again. Let's go ahead and walk through adding some custom styles to our theme. So what we're going to do here is we're going to customize some of the existing clay-based theme variables, and we're going to add some of our own custom variables as well. Once we have done that, we're going to move forward to modifying some components, adding some global styles to some of the classes that we added in our HTML, such as the footer. And then we're going to go ahead and add some custom images to the theme, as well as a new logo. So as you can see here, I have my source open for my theme, I have my exercise source, and then I have my theme here, and then I just have my server running. So make sure that you have this stuff set up with you, and you have your local instance of Liferay running. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to take the CSS files from our exercise source and place them into our CSS file for our theme. Now again, what you would normally do in a real scenario is go to the build folder, CSS, and then take whatever components or partials you want to modify from the base theme, and then make sure that those are being read in your custom SCSS. But like I said here, what we're going to do is we're going to find some existing CSS files that we want to modify, and these are going to include some comments so we can place our snippets in here. So let's go ahead and open up our CSS folder in the exercise source. I'm going to go ahead and copy these here, and then I'm going to come into the source folder of my Livingston Fjord theme, and I'm going to go ahead and paste those in here and replace the default custom SCSS. So, like I said, we're going to start by modifying some variables, and then we can go start looking at some of the components, additional styling, and add our images. So let's go ahead and start by modifying some of the default clay variables to fit the branding of the Livingston Fjord theme. So let's open up the clay variables SCSS. So I have this opened up here. I'm just going to go ahead and move this here to the left, and I'm going to go ahead and add the first snippet. So we can go ahead and highlight the comment here, type in LFR, and add the first snippet. Now in these exercises, you'll actually see in the steps written out that what you can do is either use the snippets along with me, or you can go ahead and type some of this stuff out for yourself. If you're someone who learns better by typing and getting your hands dirty, working on this in that way, then please feel free to pause the video when I've added a snippet, type in some of that code, and then we can go ahead and move on from there. So what we've done here is we have modified some of the existing clay variables just to fit our styling for the Livingston Fjord theme. So you can go ahead and take a look at those and build if you'd like, modify those for your own theme as well. And we can go ahead and add some custom colors for our themes too. Now, what we want to do here is we have a partials folder, as you can see here on the right side. In our partials folder, we have some specific partials, some specific components or aspects of the theme that we want to keep distinct from these more global SCSS files. So this will include things like the background, the buttons, footer. You can see everything here. And also, to keep things a bit more modular, more distinct, we have a variables folder, which includes our color.scss file, which will ultimately be read in the variables SCSS. And of course, everything in the partials folder is going to be custom. We need this to be read. So all of this will ultimately be read in our custom SCSS. As we've mentioned already, the custom SCSS is the main CSS source file. So what that means is we want to keep this sort of modular approach here, but ultimately everything needs to be read in our custom SCSS. And once we've made all of our modifications, we'll make sure that everything is read there. So we're going to add some of our own custom colors. So we've added a variables folder and a colors.scss. So go ahead and open up the colors.scss in your editor. I'm going to go ahead and type LFR and choose the second snippet, colors SCSS. I'll go ahead and save the file here. These are going to be some Fjord specific variables that give us the general color scheme that we're looking for this theme. And we can go ahead and reuse these throughout our theme. So like I said, once we have this here and any other variable files that we wanted to add, we need to make sure that they are read in the variables.scss. So let's go ahead and open this up. And you can type in the import if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and just use the snippet here. So I'll type in LFR and 03 variables SCSS. So this is the simple import to make sure all of our variables files are read in this file, and ultimately, like I said, everything else will be imported into the custom SCSS. The next set of variables, or I should say the last set of variables that we want to go ahead and customize, are variables that are used for our portlet styling. So these are taking some of the classes in our portlet FTL, styling them, and then having some custom variables there. Again, if you want to take a look at what already exists in the build SCSS, you can go ahead and go into the build, find the portlet folder, and you can see what portlet styles are being configured there. So I'll go ahead and close this up here. Open up the portlets folder, and I'm going to drop in the variables custom.scss. So let's go ahead and add in the fourth snippet here. So LFR, choose that fourth snippet, portlet variables custom SCSS. And here what we've done is we have simply modified some of the existing variables for our portlet styling. So if you want to modify the HTML structure of our portlets, you can go to that portlet FTL. Otherwise, you can come here and you can modify the variable custom from the portlet CSS folder. So now that we have our variables set in place here, we can start modifying some of our components and adding some custom styling as well. So for a simple start, what we can do is we can make sure that the buttons that we have on the platform are making use of our Fjord color scheme. So we're going to add an include for our buttons. So for starters, I'll go ahead and close these guys here. And I'm going to open up my partials folder again, open up my buttons SCSS, and I'll go ahead and add in my fifth snippet. So I'm going to type in LFR, add in the fifth snippet here, and this is just giving us some styling for the Fjord button primary class, which includes the Fjord primary variable. Next, let's go ahead and add some styling to the footer. Now, what we'll do here, we can see the footer in our partials folder as well, is we're going to add some base styling for the footer, and then we can come back and add some social media styling here later once we get into some of the theme configuration. So let's add the sixth snippet, LFR, sixth, it's going to be our footer SCSS. And if you remember in the last exercise, we have a separate footer FreeMarker file that is specifically for the HTML of the footer. This is just grabbing one of the classes that we have in the footer and providing some styling for the link. And like I said, we'll go ahead and add some of our social media styling here later on. So the last thing that we want to do here for our CSS for now is we want to go ahead and, like I said, make sure everything that we've changed, as well as all of the pre-existing partials that we have in this theme, are being read in our custom SCSS. Ultimately, everything that we have in the partials folder as well as our portlet folder, we want to make sure is read somewhere, specifically in that custom SCSS file. So I'm going to go ahead and close these just to keep it clean. Going to open up the custom SCSS, and I'm going to go ahead and add these imports. Like I said, if you want to pause and type these out, feel free. Otherwise, I'm going to use the seventh snippet here for those custom imports. And this gives us our variables and then all of our partials as well as our portlet decorators. So the last thing we want to do now for this set of exercises is, now that we've added our styling, is we want to add a screenshot that will give a thumbnail for our administrators to see that's a good representation of the theme when they're selecting the theme on a site. In addition to this, we want to add our own logo. Now you can add a logo to the theme itself, but in order to maintain some flexibility with what the administrators can do, we're just going to go ahead and add the logo to the site itself. So if branding ever changes or there's a new logo for Livingston, they can just go into the site administration and change it themselves rather than having to go through a process of updating the theme and rebuilding and deploying. So let's go ahead and go to our exercise source. I'm going to close the CSS folder here, open images here, and I'm going to go ahead and copy, screenshot, and thumbnail. And let's go ahead and add it to our theme source. So I'm going to exit out of the CSS folder. I'm going to go ahead and go into my images folder and paste my images there. So before we deploy the new changes, let's go ahead and add our logo, and then we can deploy and we can see all of the changes reflected on the site. So I'm going to go ahead and come back here. I'm going to need to re-log in, so I'll go ahead and refresh the page, click sign in here at the bottom. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and log in as Josiah Copeland, okay, which is the user that we added in the first module. I'm going to go to Site Builder and Pages. All right, I'm going to go to configuration here, and I'm going to scroll down to where I see the logo. If this isn't open, you can just go ahead and open this up. Click change, and click select. I'm going to go ahead and go into my exercises folder. You guys can find this downloaded from the page. And we have our Livingston logo PNG. So I can go ahead and open this up. Click done. And save. So I'll go ahead and click go to site for now, just to see everything here. I see my logo's updated, but I need to go ahead and deploy my changes. So I'm going to open up my terminal here. Make sure you are in the Livingston Fjord theme at this point, and we can simply run gulp deploy. Now, if you are using gulp watch, again, you should have already seen some of these changes deploying. If you don't see changes deploying immediately, again, make sure you have that portalext.properties file in your bundle that I pointed out in the earlier exercise, and then I'm just using incognito mode here in Chrome to be safe. So I'm going to check out my server here. I see that the theme is available for use and started, so I can go ahead and refresh, and now I see the changes that I've made to the theme. So in the next section, Alex will talk to you guys a bit about how to add custom JavaScript to your themes, and then we'll go ahead and dive into an exercise where we can add our own JavaScript customization to our Livingston Fjord theme. See you guys in the next exercise.